the heart of a warrior. What does it mean to be one? Determination, aggressiveness, overcoming. Teams depend on these hungry souls. It takes more than just strength. It takes more than just practice. There are so many warriors out there. So we return to crown a new champion. So squad up. It's match day.
In the driver's seat of the series, but if MWII wants to make that change, now is a good time to start. Out of Knights Templar, a free 40 seconds, now another 15. They're gonna get basically a full 60 on P4. Get out, I work it out. And I'll be somewhere that you need me, and I'll be holding my breath, waiting for you to show.
Hope is hope right now. Oh, Lord! Oh,
Beat him, 7 league, season 3 thus far. God damn it, I'm hyped. K7, you just got a trade here.
Well, it is once again match day here for the K7 League. My name is McCormiel. With me is the beautiful and infamous Shifty HJP. It's been a minute, Hunter, but my man, how you been?
I'm doing great, man. I'm so happy to be back in the casting booth with you, the theoretical digital casting booth, with my main man, McCormiel. It's been probably almost a year, if not longer, since you and I have been able to grace the presence of K7 together. I'm happy to be back. It's going to be a great match tonight here between Final Form and Clemson. Corn, how are you doing?
Well, you know, I'm having a great night as always. It's a beautiful Monday here. I'm back with K7 for the first time this season. So it should be a banger of a matchup. We have a lot to talk about in the realm of K7 with the amateur Call of Duty scene, just a single section by itself. This matchup should be particularly enthralling. Final Form looking to take another step in the right direction. Clemson eSports, it's going to be nice to see them for the first time here for myself, leading up into the CCL season and the collegiate season that is going to be kicking off here soon. So there's a lot to talk about, a lot to ride on, but more importantly, a lot of great Call of Duty to be played tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're in a position where I think both of these two teams are vying for number 1 and number 2 within their respective divisions. If Hero, my wonderful producer, could show the division standings graphic, that would be awesome. I'd like to showcase where our teams are at the current moment. You're seeing a match from Division Charlie. Final Form, of course, taking that number 1 spot with a 2-0 win-loss. 6-1 map count is Clemson eSports coming off of a loss on stream last week, tied up at 1-1 in that win-loss ratio. Again, if they take a win here against Final Form, that would weasel their way up into the number 2 spot, potentially over top of Aspyre, ensuring that they would make the playoffs. So a lot riding here in this best of 5 for match day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what is kind of most important to highlight about this Clemson eSports roster, it stems not only from, yes, being at 1-1, this is your, entire kind of season standing on the line at the moment, but that 3-3 map win, map loss count is particularly outstanding to me, simply due to the fact that it's either been a complete stomping of the other team or the other team has stomped them into the ground. Obviously, Safari eSports 0-6 in the map counts, 0-2 overall. The teams that have played them have fared particularly well, but Aspyre, on the other hand, that 4-3 map loss, map win, that's where things get a little tricky for me, and they've lost a close series. They've also won a particularly outstanding series against Clemson too. So that is where the pain point comes in. I hope Clemson have the ability to extend the series today, opposed to it being another 3-0 or 0-3 standpoint. But again, that's all going to be in due time. And they're playing against one of the best teams inside of the K7 League this time around, if not the best. Unless we're talking about the newly changed type eSports.
Yeah, the newly changed hyped esports, along with Millennium 7 and NOLA Flight, sort of the group amalgamated top 4 from a lot of the staff and those related in and around K7. So good to see the divisions and how they're laying out now. Again, if you're unfamiliar, the top 8 teams, so that is top 2 from each division, will get thrown into a playoff bracket, I believe not this coming week, but the week after. So definitely some high stakes for this match today for Clemson. A little bit less so for Final Form, but you still want to come in and have a dominant presence in this series if you are Final Form, really solidify that #1 spot. As we'll see the rosters now here. You're familiar with Final Form. Korn, tell me a little bit about them.
Yeah, I mean, when you look across this roster, great 4-man team, but really the two outstanding names are going to be Marskis and Cells for this roster, particularly when we talk about the respawns. Coming into this, throughout K7 specifically, the first 2 matches that this team has played, it's been 3 hard points throughout. They've only lost 1 map in their entirety of their K7 run so far. It's 6-1 their map count stands, but you look to Marskis to be that #1 team leader. Talking about hard points specifically, he comes into this matchup with a 2.67 KD in the mode specifically. Cells right there behind him, also above a 2 KD. It's very impressive how good these players are when it comes to respawn, and with Trix and Diff being able to be that supporting cast, there's no shocker and no wonder why this team has gotten out to the jump start that they have, and why they're basically a surefire lock for a playoff spot.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, me and myself and Sauce were able to sit down and have a conversation with Marskis after their first week victory against Aspyre. Super nice guy, seemed very humble, seemed hungry and ready to finish out the rest of this league on a positive note. Across the board from them, that is going to be Clemson eSports, who have some new pickups here. Again, still seeing BMO, Spike, and Wheezy, I believe Classy being a new one for them in this match. So we'll see how that. Is it Cholo? So we're getting Cholo now, who is the new man on the roster. Yeah, he is the new man on the roster. So things constantly changing here at K7. It's hard to keep track of them, but Clemson potentially going to line up in this David versus Goliath theoretically matchup against the #1 team in their division. Again, everything to lose for Final Form and everything to gain for Clemson eSports tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it goes to also stand at the same time here. One other roster change to kind of note in here as well. Cells will not be playing tonight. Freaky will step in for Cells in that roster for Final Form. So that'll be kind of the storyline of how is that team going to mesh going forward with that. And then on the opposite side of the spectrum, how is Clemson going to be able to match up with Cholo coming into this roster as kind of a new formed outfit for them. Going forward, though, I mean, if we look at the overall playoff standings right now, yes, NOLA Flight would be that #1 seed. But down at the bottom of the bracket, Final Form would also be moving into a nice position where they played Aspyre, which is, I think, it's a favorable matchup for them. So that would be quite nice. But just kind of focusing back in on the series, I want to talk about Clemson for a second, because this is where we get to see the first kind of glimpses of teams that are starting to form for collegiate season. And the more that these teams are going to be able to play together, the more that they practice together, the better they are going to become. So a lot is going to be kind of set out for this Clemson roster in this matchup alone. It's how are you going to face off against a team that is going to be playing at a particularly high level in challengers, whether that be, top 32, top 64, wherever you might place on any given weekend, even upwards of top 16 sometimes. That is going to be true adversity that you're going to have to battle through, and we can learn a lot from that. And you can learn a lot about yourselves and how you can move forward throughout the entire year of Modern Warfare 2. But it's nice for me, particularly too, because I get to see this team before they go play in the CCL, before they might take on NACE, before they might go to these other outlets and play against the best collegiate talent that there is within just the United States this alone. So I should say North America rather, but realistically, this Clemson team, you're either gonna fly high or you're gonna be kind of in the dwindling middle pack, and that's where I don't want them to be. And hopefully, that's kind of what they can shy away from, is just being another collegiate team.
Yeah, I think one thing that, and you highlighted it earlier too, is that Final Form did have a great matchup. You calling it a favorable matchup against Aspyre earlier in the season. A 3-1 win for Final Form there, and Aspyre was able to, I believe, steal a control from them. So, or an S&D rather, from them. So, you know, kind of a wishy-washy map in the best of 5 series grand scheme of things. And then Clemson on the other side getting 3-0'd by Aspyre just last week. So you're sort of seeing the tiering of the talent here within that division. And again, I hope and pray that tonight Clemson can have a much better showing. I was really excited to see a CCL team represented here in the league, using it as a sort of practice run for their CCL endeavors later this year. Hopefully going to see them bounce back in a big way tonight against Final Form. With that being said, we've got our best of 5 series loaded up and ready to go here. So we've got, if we could take a look at the maps, we can see this best of 5 laid out. It's going to be Mercado. I hope you want to see that twice, because if not, you don't have a choice. Mercado, Hardpoint, S&D, then LSELO Control, Hydro, and Hotel, Hardpoint, and S&D for maps 4 and 5 should we need them. So a nice spread of maps here. I really am not a huge fan of LSELO Control. I think with a majority of people I'm sort of in that boat with, but at least it's not Fortress.
I mean, to be fair, I don't really have a love or hate for I guess the majority of the control maps this year, because we have seen, you know, at the top level, at the mid level of amateur play, and even up at the pro scene, control plays really well this year. Offense, defensive sides, it's a lot more even than we saw last year, specifically in Vanguard. and I think that bodes well going forward, because it allows for a much more chaotic series and a turning point that is going to be a little bit more clear cut and concise. Overall, though, again, I don't hate the LSELO pick. I think really where this series is going to make its turn is going to be that Mercado Search and Destroy. Because there's a certain way that Mercado gets played right now, where the B side is basically neglected, except for maybe a couple rounds in the game. Basically, you're just fighting up A lane into the Cantina building for A site when you're on offense. Those nades and stuns that come up over the top are going to be the the bread and butter of the rounds. It's how you open things up, or you're going to fall by the wayside. So if you don't get Cantina control on the offense when you're pushing up, you get stunned out or you get naded out and you lose numbers immediately. You're probably not going to win that site. You're probably not going to be able to completely take that zone, and then boom, you're done with the round and everything changes up like that. So overall, it's a hard map to play on the defensive side, but it's just a back and forth map where you're probably just gonna be handshaking rounds again and again.
Yeah, I think one thing that we'll have to see on Mercado, we'll absolutely have to see, is who will win the first blood battle. I mean, in that P2 building, in that Cantina area, you have so many short tradable gunfights that need to be won by one side or the other to really make a force known over on that A site. I'm glad that you mentioned that B pretty much neglected, and we see that a lot with the S&D, right? I mean, B is so wide open, it's so hard to attain control of that area, especially from the attacking side. So again, most of the time default to A, not a bad place to be for the offensive team, but we will have to worry about that when map number 2 comes. Again, welcome to K7 Match Day. I am Shifty here, joined by Alex McCormish, Mr. McCornmeal himself, as we are going to get loaded up into map number 1 on Mercado. You see the stats on the left side of your screen, potentially a banger hardpoint here on a map that really and truly I like a lot for hardpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. It plays extremely well. It's very close quarter at times, but you also have your opportunities for the ARs to take over. It can be a fun time overall, but I never had a Mr. put in front of my name, so it's quite nice. Div on screen first to start off here, trying to make a route all the way around the backside. Hopefully we'll get the mini map up here in just a moment. But regardless, it is Clemson who's going to strike first and towards that hard point, working on getting themselves that first about 15 seconds of control. But already you see the kill feed. Classy with a nice 2. This is exactly the start that you needed from the side of Clemson eSports.
Yeah, it was. Getting that initial scrap time off of P1. We see BMO and company playing a little passive. Is Classy really going to be the player to watch right now? He and Wheezy are in position for P2. We're going to see a big frontal push from Final Form, potentially down the tunnel. And all of these gunfights here with about 15 seconds or so left are going to be absolutely pivotal for controlling P2. It is such a hard hill to break if you're set up correctly.
Now over towards Cantini, you see Spike here, trying to hold the AR presence over the top. Shots on the Freaky are going to connect. It's a nice little, at least cleanup first off. Now as you start to see those red arrows making their way through, it's going to need to be a quick break there, and that's a big kill to start things off. Diff now making his way up. BMO, a good trade, can escape inside of the building, gets away with his life for the time being, and it's another kill there on the Freaky. Once again, Clemson eSports winning the gunfights. It's a 2-2 trade back in the kill feed once again. Clemson eSports still hang on here at P2.
Yes, they will. Wheezy big to make it 3 straight kills in this P2 area, as now he's pre-firing the back alley, trying to get some extra shots down halfway through this P2, and we're seeing some solid map control from Clemson eSports. Freaky, again, going to be the player to watch now for Final Form as he and BMO. BMO in a creddy spot right now on top of the garage.
Oh my
He's
God.
going to drop down and pick up one. He's got one more to his right, not going to be able to win it. Again, Route Man gets paid. You mentioned it rotating to P2. Diff being the difference maker for this rotation for Final Form.
Yeah, it's nice to see Final Form get out across the map this time. They'd learn from their mistakes over by P2. Find themselves on an early rotation. So as BMO's there, Wheezy's able to find another one as well. That's 2 good kills from the side of Clemson eSports once again. And Final Form just have no answer to the aggression that's coming out right now from Clemson. So that'll be something to watch throughout the game. Marskies, we highlighted a 2.6 KD in hardpoint, a 1-7 start here, trying to turn things around early as it goes. But there's still plenty of time inside of this hardpoint. Nothing to be too concerned about if you are a fan of Final Form. But you have to be happy if you're a Clemson fan.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, getting 60 points across the first 2 points, that is really difficult to do on this map unless you get a nice solid hold on P2, and that's exactly what we saw. Now Final Form trading back in spades, though, as they are very, very likely going to set up for almost a full 60 here on this garage hardpoint, and Clemson, very wisely, you can see it on your mini map, going to try and work that rotation for P4. Big entry kills coming up here.
Yeah, it was nice. You're able to hold down, and maybe not a full 60, but you get that lead off of that hill at the same time. And although Clemson had a good shot to break on in, it just wasn't enough. The spawns were still close for Final Form. So those are the type of things you like to see if you are a Final Form fan. Back to their roots quickly after a really not so hot start. So Clemson now on the offensive, inside of the hill, diff around the backside, 3 in a row, looking for maybe number 4 and 5. Streaks very important on a map like Mercado. A lot of open angles, but that's not something you like there. Team kill out from Freaky. Not going to help a push here early on.
Yeah, really unfortunate there for the side of Final Form, as again, you not only lose that potential spawn holder for the side of Final Form, but you lose your streak capability. But it doesn't matter. Marski's able to come in with a humongous 3-piece on the backside of P4, going to break that time in. And again, we're very close here across the first 4 hard points. Final Form again going to edge about a 15 or so second lead if they decide to play for all of this scrap time, as again, P5 getting ready to pop. This garage area, this garage courtyard, so easily contested if it's not held down correctly. Diff and Tricks trying to do just that for the side of Final Form.
Down the corner, waiting to push up. Aerial shot gives you the lay of the land. Diff gonna have some shots on the Wheezy, walks away with the gunfight, doesn't realize there's one out still towards the alley, but he's able to escape for 3 in a row still. Marski's 6 straight now, looking for number 7, but as he gets cut down by BMO, the streak will still stand. Utility to use for Final Form, and an opportunity to blow this game open if they so choose. Tricks, a nice little double. Spike in towards the hill. Break is in from Clemson. Kills are good in their way as well. However, it's Marski's once again trying to ruin the attempts. The assassination from Spike looks for a second there, as well as Diff tries to make his way in.
Oh man, but nice entry counter from Spike is, again, all for naught. Again, really what we're seeing here is I feel like Final Form is doing a great job of swarming the hill area. They're playing their trades very well. They're not pushing so low, as Clemson, unfortunately, falling to the wayside here. Quick stat for you. At the end of P2, it was 61-20 in favor of Clemson eSports. We're now 117-30. point run streak here for Final Form, as now this second top Cantina Hill popping, and Spike really the only one in a position to make a frontal play, as Trick's going to be pre-firing here, killing a teammate, but can't take down Spike. So Marski's really last alive to hold this hill. Big kill there, though, for Final Form.
I mean, you harp on the trends there, how things have started versus where they are at now. And, well, you just look to Mars specifically. 1-7 to start the game off, 14-12 now. Ever since that point, he's been 13-5 in the game. Again, that big streak does help out a lot because you still have that utility if you are Final Form. Clemson eSports have done a nice job, able to break back at least to the 100-point mark. But again, if you let Final Form continue to spiral this out of control, eventually there's just going to be talking about, all right, what's map 2 got in store?
Yeah, no kidding. And again, on the opposite side of that train, MWII starting 11-7 ever since 3-7. So slowing down in the kill department for the side of MWII. Spike picking up a little bit of the slack, though. This hard point can be so pivotal for Clemson. They've got a really nice setup. BMO going to pick up 1 kill. MWII's got his back down the hallway. He's going to need at least a 1 frag here. Huge gunfight win on Detroit.
I don't know if I like getting so aggressive back towards it. The spawns are still going to come in. You're on 4 in a row there. Sure, you're not necessarily playing for the streak immediately, but it's going to help out later, specifically since Final Form still have 1 to use. Classy up close. Trick's trying to play around the corner. This time he will fall to the hands of Clemson eSports. And now as you get the last 30 seconds of time here, this is really, really good, precious time that Clemson needed if they want to get close and back into this game. Final Form have looked extremely good. It's 2 kills that go their way. The pinch is on, and the kills are still pouring in as Marski finds a second.
Yeah, humongous 2-piece, making it 3 straight for Marski's, jumping on top of the RV and able to attain this last little bit of scrap time before the rotation resets. Again, that first rotation, 184 to 142-ish. You can see that score line as we go forward. Now, if you're Clemson, you not only need to try and at least scrape a little bit of the scrap time up, but also put yourself in a position for P2. They do have the positive spawns, but can they win the slaying battle to ensure that they stay that way?
Oh, Mars on a 5, but once again, 3 players almost on the side of Final Form. Past a minute in hill time. Everybody getting their fair share of time. Clemson, kind of the same way. Obviously, you'd love for BMO to maybe have a bit more extracurricular activity inside of that hard point, but it's nothing too shy right now. 195, 143, about a 50-point advantage for Final Form yet again. And with 20 seconds left here in the middle, there's no shock why Final Form went for the scrap time the last time through. This middle map hard point is just so scrappy.
Yeah, it is, and Marski's really on your screen now, holding that back hedges area, going to be sort of your entry point man as he's trying to watch every single angle. The stun coming in, 2 humongous counter kills from Clemson as they may be primed, if they can win these entry gunfights, a full potential flood around the backside and into tunnel for Final Form. That may be a problem for Clemson, but at least they can attain 10 to 15 seconds or here potentially, but Tricks and company I've got something to say about that now. Breaking into the bottom, big kill onto MWII. 3 straight dead for Final Form in favor of them, as now this P2 hardpoint in full control as we see yet another team kill.
Yeah, that'll pretty much be the dagger in this game. If Clemson were to be able to come back, win this game, it had to start here at P2 in the bottom of the Cantina building. But once you allow Final Form to break on in, it doesn't matter if they only have 5-10 seconds left and there's still a theoretical comeback opportunity. Clemson just has not looked good in the second half of this game in order to make that impression stick. So with 14 seconds left here, a full rotation out from Clemson as well. There's just no presence back over towards the opposite side of the map. Sure, it's a 4v3 here, but if you don't win that first gunfight and it just goes the opposite way and you force a 3v3, there it is. This could completely turn things around. It might just be Final Form taking the win here.
Yeah, it's getting dangerously close. I mean, 6 seconds, you can basically contest here and there over this hard point and the next and still steal this win. As Tricks, again, on your on the scoreboard here on the left side, 21-15 with 1 minute and 47 seconds, and Hill doing absolutely great work on both sides as MWII and Classy going to be trying to hold down the middle and the hill area. 20-20 for MWII. Big kills coming in favor of Final Form, though, as Marski's and Freaky now going to try and break in. A big 2-piece from Freaky. Spike the last alive, and he will be able to make his time for a moment. But just like that, that should be it. Again, here on this P3 hardpoint, that P2 being the teller for Final Form. Huge control there, and really it all sort of fell apart, but not a bad scoreline for Clemson. Definitely some flashes in the pan, some things to be happy with in that hard point.
I think if you are Clemson, and this is not to sound like I'm just favoring Final Form to the highest extent right now, but that scoreline looks a lot better than the entire story was. You started out the game hot. You started off really solid. You had about a 40-50 point lead after the first 2 hills were over. Then Final Form started hitting it into the next gear. Varsky's teed up, absolutely flew through the second half of that game, was 1-7 to start off and finishes with like 23. That is a stat line that you will tote happily, especially with a 1-0 scoreline right now against Clemson eSports. But I think the main telltale of that game was it was always catch up from Clemson after Final Form retook the lead early on in the game. We knew that was going to be kind of the storyline inside of the series. Realistically, where Clemson is going to have that advantage and where they're going to be able to leapfrog Final Form and maybe force at least the map number 4 is going to be in that search and destroy into the control. Those are the 2 places where Final Form has looked a bit weak. I don't want to say weak because they still have been extremely good in those modes respectively, but those are the weak points that you can kind of attack them. Those are the kind of the open spots in the armor where you can slash the kneecaps and go for those tendons. So if you're Final Form, you're happy after map 1, you did what you were supposed to do. Now you have to carry that into a search and destroy and a control and make sure you close out this series in a 3-0. You do not want to give Clemson any opportunity to breathe.
Yeah, I mean, you and I both know that S&D wins championships on so many levels, right? It's a game mode that has been played for years and years and years now in the Call of Duty scene, and it's one that most players, regardless of who you're playing with, are familiar with how to play. The team chemistry might be a big part of it at times, but most of your top amateur and above players are going to have an idea of how to play search and destroy, right? So if you are Clemson, I think you need to steal this map. Again, Mercado, something that favors the offense so heavily. You need to get an offensive round on the board. You need to potentially try and steal a defense if you can as well, because that defensive win very well may dictate who takes the S&D.
Yeah, absolutely. And we wrote off the trends for map 1. They, at least for the time being, have been true to form. So I think we can go to the S&D and also look at the same kind of thing. You look to Clemson as a better search and destroy team overall. That would be necessarily true. 3 players on this Clemson roster come to mind immediately when you look to the actual leaderboards for S&D KD overall. First and foremost, top leading there would be the 5th overall KD player in Search and Destroy for K7 this season with Wheezy. And then you have your teammate down on the bottom with a 1-3 and Spike as well. So 2 guys who are, at least through only 2 games played, yes, so stats could be particularly a bit skewed, but through 2 maps, they have looked good with this Clemson roster. And again, it's not like that loss that they had in the 0-3 loss was a bad Search and Destroy. It was a close Search and Destroy down to the wire. Again, this is particularly kind of make or break, at least for me, in my opinion, of this series. If you don't win here, I think this thing ends up with a 3-0 closeout in the control. Final Form are a very good respawn team. If you're not able to steal your Search and Destroys and make it a 2-3-5 kind of series, it's pretty much going to be a GG and over and done. This is not to kind of narc on this Clemson roster, but it just is. It's a testimony to how good Final Form are.
I agree, and I think one thing that really lends to that point, right, is if you see the skew of the slaying numbers in that hard point, right? I mean, you think about a game mode like Control where kills are so important. I mean, I think a little bit less on a map like El Asilo, where on that B side, you can get really one full wipe and stack all 4 players on it and have it while they're trying to fight back from the respawn. Again, that B site, so precarious. It pushes the defensive spawns way back, and they have quite the way to traverse back across. But with that being said, Control in generality, right, is a lot of times predicated on how many kills you're going to get. I mean, those kills, they can't spend time on the point if they're spending time on the respawn screen, right? So, and I think one thing that will lend to Final Form and could potentially hurt Clemson if we do see them knot this series up or lose this S&D is that Control, I definitely don't think is going to be in their favor almost strictly based on the slaying numbers alone. So that's really a long-winded way of saying I agree with you. They need to take this S&D or this series very well may be chalked.
Yeah, we'll take a look at our best of 5 map set real quick once again, just so we can kind of see where we're going and where we've been. Obviously, the Mercado for map number 1 there, 250 to about 190 was the scoreline. So about a 60-point deficit from Clemson in map 1. Mercado back on the same map, so maybe not a fresh face or a fresh environment for Clemson to be able to kind of forget map 1, but at least you'll be able to go into a search and destroy scenario where you feel a bit more confident against this roster, especially with how close that's played played, I'm sure they have a lot of momentum and a lot of confidence still within themselves to be able to take a map 2, so I'm not too worried about it in that regard. Map 3 will be that El Estilo control, and again, that map can play very well for submachine gun players, but especially towards that outside B zone where a lot of those ARs like to sit up on, especially that top AC heady, being able to watch out everything else. That is going to definitely, at least in my opinion, favor the side of Final Force to a significant degree. Just being able to play chaotic around the map seemed to be kind of the bread and butter from map 1, where they were able to control every lane and just play for space more importantly. So talking a bit more about this Mercado search and destroy here, Hunter. We said it at the top of the show. We were talking about, you know, where teams like to play, what's the favorite bomb site, and whatnot. I would like to see Clemson fight aggressive on defense over towards A. If you need to send 2 into the bottom cantina to force the offense back, do it. If you need to play a bit more passive and take space around the rest of the map to then force your way back into that A site, again, I'm not going to be mad at you for doing that either. It's all about being adaptable, putting yourselves in the best positions possible at every given time. And if Clemson can find a way to do that early on and kind of take the side of Team Final off guard, that's kind of where things will shift around, and that's where you can really start getting mixy to take a map and really fluster the other team to a point.
I agree. I think one thing that we need to see on this S&D is for the defensive side, especially for Clemson, like you said, get aggressive, get inside of that bottom cantina area and try and get control of the A site. One thing that I think we may see as well, just based on the previous matches, the last S&D that we saw from Clemson eSports against Aspyre was here on Mercado, and we saw Wheezy rocking the sniper rifle. Let's see if he does it and watches over that middle map lane, see if maybe he can get a pick here and there and try and stack those odds in his favor.
Offensive push over towards Cantina, nagging to back off Clemson eSports for a moment. Wheezy forced up the staircase. Stun nade out, going to be able to check that. Realizes there's one below, but doesn't necessarily know where Freaky is going to be playing. Wheezy looking over the middle. Marski's trying to make his way up in through the tunnel. You got to take an aggressive gunfight there if you are Marski's. Survives with 6 HP. Dolphin dives over towards the right. No kills off the board just yet. Each team still filling out the map for a first blood.
Yeah, and we see this on Mercado a lot, right? Again, for a huge first blood for Freaky is now the full defensive presence has been known inside of this bottom cantina area, but we see that a lot. We see a lot of stalemates on this map trying to play a game of chess as Freaky is telling Clemson that they're playing checkers and we're playing chess. 3 humongous kills for him as Final Form notching a first round in illustrious fashion. Freaky really the player of the round there as he pushes all the way through bottom cantina, takes not 1, not 2, but 3, and sets Clemson down early in that round number 1.
Yeah, that flank also just kind of capped things off with Diff coming around the backside too to help out the rest of his teammates. But you know, once you're able to generally get into the bottom of that cantina building, you theoretically should have a round win, especially if the offense is going to be playing a bit passive, because it's so hard to break out of that gun or that building if you don't get that first or second pick right off the rip. Freaky down below on screen once again. 3 kills in the last round. As that bomb looks to make its way up, you see so many arrows all crowded around this cantina building. The one question on everybody's mind is who will go down first?
And trying for the side of Final Form to break into top cantina here. Spike and company in a great angle. BMO able to take 1 and make it a second. Oh my goodness, the snapper from BMO, and that leaves Trix alive in a 1v4. And you and I both know that 1v4 is very difficult in this game with how close these maps are. Clemson taking a defensive round as well, and they're kind of throwing exactly what we said before this S&D right in our faces. 2 rounds, 2 defensive round wins, 1 apiece, all knotted up as Clemson will go back to the offense.
And now you're starting to see the picture of why I don't like this map when it comes to search and destroy. Either way, all it comes down to is the trend breakers who will take the first double back-to-back round in a row. Spike down below.
See a B hit here potentially one of these rounds?
Oh, I'm sure you will eventually if a team starts to get gobbersmacked, but if, you know, you're not getting smacked up, it's going to be fine. Either way, Freaky will open the door, doesn't realize there's one to the left, going to check it, won't be able to get the trigger off in time. Classy walks away with the first kill in the round. Minute and 10 on the clock, 4 versus 3, favor in lives in terms of Clemson.
Yeah, huge trade for Marskis and Diff again, pulling out the sniper rifle, able to pick up Wheezy towards that middle map area. Now Marskis tiptoeing on the outer side of these windows here. Such a powerful head glitch. If anybody tries to go top Cantina, they're going to have to deal with Marskis. 2v3, Classy and BMO really kind of stuck in a pretty precarious position here.
Well, see, they don't necessarily know that they're like directly inside of the Cantina building, and you still see Trix who's watching out towards middle. So you know you're all obviously still looking for an opportunity for there to be a kind of flank back around the map or a wrap over towards B. Either way, a Diff with a sniper in the back line will be looking, but it's Trix who helps out from mid map that's able to find one, make it a second kill there as well. As even though you were able to find Marskis outside of Cantina to even things up at 2 apiece, Final Form's able to win the next 2 gunfights. They put themselves in a position to take the advantage 2-1.
Yeah, really, Marski's doing a great job there of, if nothing else, being an info player, right? I mean, BMO jumping out of bottom Cantina, nice heads-up play to check the top head glitch. It's a pretty frequent spot, but a nice heads-up play from BMO. But really, at that point, all Marskis has to do, he knows his teammates are in mid and back by hedges and have both the AR and the sniper rifle, respectively. All he has to do is be the info player. We see that executed to perfection. Another great defensive round win for Final Form as, wow, first blood very quickly for Wheezy in middle.
I like the aggression to play in towards middle instead of just sending everybody back over towards A for another consecutive round. Yes, there's 3 there still, but now Classy can start to make his way up the map. Dead silence is popped.
Oh.
Shots in the back are going to be able to find another one. And the defense strong once again. Marski's last alive in a 1 versus 4, and they have him pinched within that back right building. Nobody in a position to either get wrapped around behind or get picked off in a 1v1. Mars needs to win this against Classy if he wants the chance to break out of the spawn.
Yeah, really looking for a huge exit kill for the side of Marskis. Is going to hop up over towards this garage area, and he's got plenty of time left here, 40 seconds. But in a 1v4 with that bomb needing to go down, definitely a tough position. He has been spotted out. You know the call-outs are coming in from Clemson, and now all they're going to have to do is tighten the noose around Marskis inside of this garage building. I like the play. I would hope that he pulls a full rotation here. Maybe not. He's going to try and play aggressively here on the B side.
I mean, he knows that everybody's going to be back around over towards him here, so if he's able to find one, maybe snap to a second, that gives him an isolated 1v1 for the win. As he creaks the door open, he's able to spot one in the back. Second shots could be there potentially. You just need to get this bomb down if you can, and I think they're going to give it to him. They're still trying to make a play to where everybody's going to pinch back, but he's giving himself a real shot to take this round. Now he gets back in towards the building. And once again, it all comes down to if he can find isolated 1v1s. Will they be able to give him the light of day to potentially find this round? And as BMO is able to be in there first, Mars needs to be careful. But I love this. It's nice how the side of Clemson. BMO's there for a trade.
Yeah, that was a hell of a defensive retake there. Really solid effort from Mars as he tried his best to pick up isolated 1v1 gunfights. You said it best. That's really the only way you're going to win in that scenario. But Clemson doing a good job backing out, letting that plant go down and playing with the numbers, allowing themselves a solid retake. Really well executed as well around that garage building. So again, 4 rounds, 4 up, 4 down, all defensive wins, all knotted up at 2 apiece here. And again, we talked about this at the beginning of the S&D about whoever won the defense may be the winner. Now it's seeming like whoever can steal an offense may be the winner of this S&D.
Slow creep up. Diff going to be their first line of defense and only line of defense from Final Form, but the rotation is on now. As you see Trix and Freaky starting to make their way back over towards this B site. It's going to be a 3v3 here. You can win the first blood on offense here. It's going to be a great sign for you. It all comes down to if Freaky can win the gunfight. Drop shot, not going to be there. Diff trying to play down. If anybody hops in from above, you might just be able to find some good timing there. You don't want to pull a Paul X. And as you find another kill there, it's 3v3, 40 seconds for a retake.
Diff now going to be the big player to help enter this B site, but Classy, very wise play to check that dark alley is now for the first time on an offense. We see Clemson with the direct numbers advantage. See how they can work with it. Marski's jumping up into the window. Peekaboo, Spike, he's going to take you down. Now a 2v2, but again, that time dwindling away. Yeah, you've got to run here. Now MWII taking tricks, and again, Marski's last alive without the numbers advantage. Really nothing he's going to be able to do here other than try and play for kills. Again, Clemson going to take that offensive round that one of them so desperately needed, as Marski's will be able to steal the garbage time kill, and that might be big for Streaks.
Yeah, it could on the back end of this, but that's the first offensive round win. That's 2 in a row for Clemson eSports, and that's the trend we needed to see. We needed something to break the monotony of map 2 so far, and that's the good sign. Clemson has the resilience. They have the mental fortitude to be able to take a lead here after a close map 1 didn't go their way. And you have to be confident. Yes, we're only about halfway through the search and destroy here, so there's plenty of opportunity for Final Form to once again retake the leader, at least get back tied 3-3. But this is, you'll take the little wins where you can get them, and that's exactly what they've done so far. 10 seconds off the clock here. Aggressive hit from Final Form over to the Cantina building and A site once again, but another big first kill comes in from Clemson, followed up by a second from MWII. 4 versus 2. You cannot throw this. You need to put yourselves at a position to take the 4-2 advantage.
Yeah, this is a third straight round where Clemson was able to steal a first blood. And one thing, say what you will about Clemson, say what you will about this map, but one thing that Clemson has done incredibly well is play with their live advantages. And right now, this is a hell of a task for Marski's Freakies. They're going to be able to... Oh, no! He thought he was dead, but he will turn back around. Big kill there. Freaky taking the second. This may be huge, and Clemson... may throw my words right back in my face, potentially losing a 4v2 scenario here as Freaky and Marski's need to get this bomb down, though. Deddy, pop, as this middle trade might be huge.
And MWII backs off of it. Now Marski's gets an information for free, and he's going to get great timing there on the MWII. 1 versus 2, bomb down. Classy in a position to at least pick off one, not trigger discipline there. And he doesn't.
Man.
Okay, that actually just pissed me off on a multitude of levels. One, because you lose a 2v4 and you allow Final Form to tie the game back up at 3-3. But you know that your teammate just died from middle map. You have the kill cam to watch too. And as Marski's comes from middle map, you're just trying to chase the red dot on the mini map and go for Freaky to try and isolate a 1v1. You need to be aware of the spatial surroundings on the map. And if he's coming from middle map, you need to be ready to chow that. It's a 1 versus 2. You never should have been put in the first place. I get that. But regardless of the situation, you need to make sure that you're not in your own head about things. You need to always be looking for that next gunfight or the most important gunfight. He's not going to challenge back towards you unless the player comes from middle map. You need to get that kill. Anyways, we're in a new round. MWII looking for shots across the map. Sees Dip all the way in the back, forced to back himself off. And it's the first blood that comes out from Final Form. Marski's opens the door up. 7 in a row. 10-4. You said that streak might be crucial. He's got a cruise missile now.
Yeah, no kidding. I was just getting ready to comment on the fact that Marski's has really been strutting his stuff these last couple rounds against 7 streak, as you see him again on your screen here, playing in very advantageous position for him and his team. Is going to try and peek, not exposing himself too much, as he will catch the ankles of Spike. That information going to be relayed to Freaky, who's coming around the front side. This is a full frontal assault, a swarming, if you will, and BMO, unfortunately, going to be able to take one that will kill Marski's off of the streak, but it didn't matter. Cruise missile already acquired. Great back-to-back round win for Final Form, really showing some composure here for the side of Final Form.
I don't want to harp back to that round, and this is the last time I'm going to bring that up. The 2v4 is the biggest single play in this game.
It's a backbreaker, isn't it?
Because, exactly, it breaks the back of Clemson, but it also just completely ruins all the head of steam they had built from themselves, because they were like, oh shoot, we're back at 3 apiece, and all the work that they had done to give themselves the advantage was completely ripped out of them from their own plays, and that's the real heartbreaker that you have to live with. Final Form up 4-3, 1 round advantage. If they're able to force map 2 win, they'll be up 2-0 in the series, and then desperation would kick in for Clemson eSports, who will be at jeopardy of losing this series in a 3-0 sweep. Trix is going to be the first one pushed up here from Final Form. 2 players in the bomb, now over towards the building. You're going to get information from the streak above, but that's a big first kill if you are Clemson. Resilience, once again, the theme for this orange team.
Yeah, no kidding. Is Trix going to be able to pick up one onto BMO? Spike, nice instant trade diff. Unfortunately missing the snipe there, but Marskis was able to clean that up, and a second. He is now 12-5, ladies and gentlemen. He put his big boy pants on for this S&D, and it is showing as now Final Form has the bomb and full control of this B site. MWII last alive in a 1v2. This is a tough scenario for the guys in orange.
Oh, you spot the leg out. You're able to find him, and that is not going to allow Final Form to get that bomb down. Mars will hop on it directly after the fact. I love the play there. Not in a good position. If you are the side of Clemson, if there's anybody I want in this situation right now, it's MWII. He's had the hot hand for Clemson in the search and destroy here. Marskis is going to get some great timing once again all the way through the back lines. Is MWII going to be able to check this? He has no clue where Mars is going to be coming from. Dead silence not there. Shots are in. And with the Vaznev, he'll get himself to 13 kills. Put Final Form up at match point here in the search and destroy. And with a 2-round advantage, Clemson eSports in peril at the moment. They are free falling here on Mercado.
Yes, they are. And again, not to harp back to that round, but that 2v4 is the backbreaker. That is the swing point in this map. I mean, you and I both know Call of Duty very much a mental game, and that could have absolutely fried the mentality of Clemson eSports, because that 4-2 scoreline that it could have been looks a whole hell of a lot better than 3-3, and now Final Form has been on a roll ever since. Marskis, the only one in the lobby even close to double-digit kills, and he's working on triple positive as we speak. This defense going to be huge for Final Form, but BMO able to take the first blood, stop the bleeding at least for the moment, as they have that B site potentially on lock. Bomb going to go down now. Player number 8 in diff going to be your first entry fragger, and he will pick up 1, make it 2 with that sniper rifle. Marskis with a third. How it falls apart. Clemson eSports taking the first blood, but nothing else. Huge trades, and that's going to be it, man.
Oh, it's so funny that you bring up Clemson getting a first blood and nothing else. Yes, you're going to start leaving the lobby. 14-5, multiple sporadic streaks. All right, just let me know.
Need to get a technical difficulty screen.
On God, dude. Oh God. Now we got to go through all this rigmarole of like, hey guys, sorry for the delay. We apologize. Sorry, fucking sorry.
So you said there's a 30-second delay, so we should be good now, or? All right. Welcome back. I hate to see that, but, you know, unfortunately, the technical difficulties sometimes pervade and prevail as they were currently kicking our butt. But welcome back again. If you missed it, we have a 2-0 series lead for Final Form on the backs of 14-5 from Marskis and a 6-3 victory on Mercado S&D for the side of Final Form.
Yeah, it was a spanking there in map 1 and 2. I guess that's the best way to put that overall. You know, Hunter, besides there being a nice I think we got a hot mic there. Hunter, I'm not gonna lie to you.
That's
pretty sure
right.
He's got a hot mic.
That's all right.
You know what's cool?
I want the technical hashtag I want the technical difficulty screen.
Oh, mega lol. Could we just real quick? This is like the most unprofessional thing I'll ask. Can we get the stream back real quick? Real quick. Corby. Anyways, no, but so I'll say this. For Clemson, everything was fine. What did I say after map 1? Clemson shot themselves in the foot and lost themselves that game. After map 2, same damn thing once again, every single time. It's the same exact thing. It's Clemson shooting themselves in the foot, Final Force playing extremely good, and everything falling apart.
Yeah, I mean, that tends to be the unfortunate thing, right? With that hardpoint win, we saw them, both teams really sort of coming for the throats of one another. And then this S&D, it was very close up until that 2v4 round. Absolute disaster for the side of Clemson, and then Final Form never looking back. Again, we have map number 3 on El Asilo coming up shortly after this, as soon as we get the lobby ready to go. But before that, we're going to hop to a very quick intermission. Again, 2-0 in favor of Final Form, map number 3. coming right after this break.
Okay.
Welcome back. This is, again, fighting through technical difficulties. I hope you guys enjoyed the little L bar and the replay production value increasing so much so here at K7, even when Heroes PC crashes. But we roll with it. That's what me and Corn do. Corn, what are your takeaways so far of these first two maps, and how do you think it's going to transfer into LSC low control?
I think we'll just continue to see the constructed chaos in Final Four. I keep almost saying Fire Force. I apologize. What I will say is I think we'll continue to see their foot forward approach. They'll try to get the jump on the other team as much as possible. Clemson has been okay in some regards, and the slaying hasn't necessarily been like the biggest like eyesore in the world either. They've kept up with this Final Form roster. They've already taken. But they've almost taken two maps off of them. Yes, the first map didn't look particularly flashy. It's about a 60-point win for Final Form. Sure. Search and Destroy, it was close halfway through it, and then the adjustments that they were making didn't give them any sort of room to work with, and they kept just getting the first bloods and then throwing the rounds out of proportion right down to the T. And so they lost 4 straight rounds. So do I think we're going to see a control win out of them? I mean, I'll say this. It's possible. But
Sure.
Thing. And I think we should all be going into this control with an expectation that Final Form should win this in the 3-0. But again, this is not like a bias type thing of like, oh my God, Final Form is so good. It's just literally that they are. And we watched that for 2 straight maps.
I mean, I agree with you. I couldn't have said it any better myself. I think at this point it's Final Form's match to lose, right? But again, we're dead set in the middle of the series. If there is a time, I know that we talked about how important that S&D could have been for a win for Clemson moving forward into the series. But if there is an absolute do or die map, it's got to be this one, clearly, because if not, it'd be a 3-0. But clearly, Clemson, if you can win this map, we didn't see a humongous disparity in the hard point. If you can steal this control and maybe roll with a little bit of momentum, then we could potentially see a map 4 and maybe a map 5. But again, I am falling in the same category that you are. I have a feeling that Final Form may just be a little too strong in the slaying department in this control.
Yeah, I'll say this real quick. Vanguard last year, the beginning of this year, map 3s have been a particularly heavy swing mode to get a team back into a series after even, a team has looked just completely abysmal in the first maps. Clemson hasn't looked abysmal. They've looked good. Final Form has looked beatable in a lot of regards as well. They just haven't been able to close out the job. For a map 3 here, I think you'd be foolish just to make it seem like, yes, it's a surefire thing. And again, like I said, it should be a more predictable thing. If Final Form should win this, yes, but it's not a surefire thing, and that's where a lot of the attention needs to be brought, and how things can change extremely quickly. You have to look to the leaders of your Clemson roster, though. You have to look to Wheezy on the main AR. You have to look to BMO at the same time to get aggressive too. And once you're able to find out both of those two things, you're going to be good in the right direction. But this is the swing mode. So you win this here, you force them out 4. I don't think you win the hard point, but you still are going to be able to keep yourselves alive in the series. You need that momentum. You need that head rush. You need that confidence boost to play well in a series. You can absolutely do it here, but you have to start now. Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think one thing that I think will be interesting to see is Marski's. Marski's really been the X factor, I think, for Final Form over the course of the first 2 maps. Obviously in the S&D, right? Obviously in the S&D, but he's been playing that sub role so well through the first 2 maps. My question is, will Clemson be able to counter some sub pressure with sub pressure, or will they maybe be able to take some long gunfights with the assault rifle and put Marski's at bay? If they cannot, then I think it's definitely a scary situation for the side of Clemson. I think stopping Marski's has to be your #1 priority moving forward, other than clearly grabbing points. But if there was one X factor player that I think you need to try to shut down, it's got to be him.
See, here's the thing. You did it in map 1 for the first 3 hard points.
Right,
you had
agreed.
1 and 7. You had them put in the dirt. That's where the problem arises, starts and finishes, because we can sit here and we can talk, yes, shut Marski's down, and it's a very easy thing to say from us on the desk because we have all of the statistics, we have all of the aerial views, we have everything in the possible world that we know how to shut him down and what we could do to stop him. Clemson doesn't have that luxury, nor do they have the time and effort to be able to put all those resources towards that, and all you really need to do is just sit there and say, hey, let's just try to win our 1Vs and start there. But you need to put yourselves in tradable positions to where even if Mars is able to get 1, you're always going to have a second body that you can put on him. And that's what Clemson hasn't done, because we've seen it time and time again. You get that first blood. Why are you losing rounds where you get the first blood? Because you're not pushing multiple together. You're soloing out and picking individual gunfights on the map, not putting yourselves in good positions to be with the rest of your team. And that will absolutely fumble your chances 9 times out of 10. So that's what you need to do better. If you are Clemson, that is something that is very obvious to a lot of people. But at the same time, it's just something that's so fundamental that people forget about a lot of the time. So you put yourselves in the tradable position, you make sure you shut down Marski's, as hard as that might be. You do both of those things, you win a map, but then you have to worry about 3 other players. It's not all on Marski's. The rest of the team also makes an incredibly big difference. It's good positioning out of every player on Final Form, opposed to it just being a one-man raid boss.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, we will see now, again, as El Silo control going to get underway. Going to be the normal first attacking spot, as you do have Final Form over on that attack, trying to work their way over towards the radio tower and get some left side map control, or right side, depending on how you are looking at it. As 2 big kills, though, going in favor of Clemson. Make it 3 as Classy, Wheezy, and BMO able to pick up big first bloods. Marski's, again, the man with the plan. Route man getting paid until Spike shuts him down.
Yeah, 3 players now from Final Form pushing over towards this B zone. BMO the first one to fall. Pretty snap there from Diff to take Spike out the top window. That will get them on this B zone. Stop the clock. They're working towards that first tick of progress, and they'll be able to get that over at that B zone. White arrows now making their way back around. Trix finds Classy to open things up, and that'll go ahead and at least knock one off the second wave that's trying to push their way forward. Wheezy, top of the building. Shots from above, is able to find one, but not before that control point can continuously get ran up. That second bit of progress, almost there. They just need to hop on for a couple more seconds.
Yeah, tick's going to be such a humongous telling point in this control. Again, this B site can be really easy to take, and those ticks definitely very important. They were able to finish that second third of B, and now working their way onto A as Spike and company need to try and make some defensive progress. They will get that first third tick at A. Marski's, again, really telling the tale in over on that A site, him and Freaky as Trix holding down the outside and Diff aiming down into the spawn. Again, a very quick and full take of A for the side of Final Form, and we saw that post-spawn rotation from B to A work out flawlessly for Final Form.
Yeah, it's the balancing game. How do you go ahead and manage B and A at the same time? And right now, everybody from Final Form here over towards B. Freaky, you cannot let that happen. If you're Weezy, you have to win that gunfight. You have the AR in your hands. It's a Vaznev going up against you, and that gives them free reign over towards the B zone. Shots from the top. Player dropping on down. Final Form, a beautiful start here on offense. 2 rounds away from closing out this series, but all it came down to was making sure that they drew the attention of the defense over towards the B zone, flat back over towards A, force them to get out of position, and once you commit to that flank, there's no going back. You have to win those gunfights. You have to make sure that pinch comes through, or you're going to lose that round every time.
Again, and we talked about that before the series, right? About how easy that B site can be to flip. If you get 1 or 2 big kills, you're going to force the defensive team to spawn all the way back by their truck, opposite side, closer to A, and it is a long map to try and traverse to get that defensive kills, or get those defensive kills off of B. Textbook execution from Final Form. Let's see if Clemson can come back with some offensive stature themselves. However, 2 big first kills for the side of Final Form. BMO going to be your player to watch, as he's not going to be able to take any other time, but I believe Spike is going to be there to try and trade it off.
Yeah, I like what the side of Final Form are doing right now. They're setting themselves up on the map, allowing that first tick of progress to come through, because once they're able to get a kill or 2 on this backside flank, again, I said you have to commit to it if you're going to do it, and that's exactly what they've done. 5 lives already off the board for Clemson. Here comes the pinch now. Freaky in the back, first shots. Wheezy isn't able to find one. Connects with a few bullets, but won't walk away with a kill. Spike there too. Tricks to the top shot of the window. They back everybody off from Clemson eSports. Now Final Form can once again reign supreme over here on the defensive side by B. Nobody with any sort of opportunity to get towards A, and they've set up a spawn trap here towards the north portion of the map.
Yes, this north portion of the map is so important to hold if you can make it for a defensive side, and who better to do it than Marski's, but unfortunately a little overzealous, I think, maybe with the challenge there. He had some teammates in his alley to help, but a great offensive defensive presence from Final Form as Marski's was able to push up and attain some time in the spawn, as Freaky again doing absolutely nasty things. He is 10-3. He's doing a great job leading the way in kills for Final Form, and honestly, it's really going in their favor right now. Clemson can't even get more than a third of B. We've seen no A presence from them either.
I'm going to talk about it after this round is over, but that whole sequence actually just made me extremely upset. Marski's pops a little double there. Long shots from Diff trying to get there. A site started to get at least a bit of control from the offensive side here. Wheezy, a nice little double. Gets aggressive, and they can get this first tick of progress on A, slow down this clock, make sure that Final Form aren't able to break back on the defensive side, but you need to look for Marski's. He's making the flank around the backside, able to find the first trade immediately. 2 for 1 go Clemson. Second tick of progress on the A zone, looking for the third. A minute of time still to be added potentially here, but as everybody falls and everybody goes to the wayside, it's Clemson eSports with 1 body left over by that B zone. 1.5 seconds left, but if you lose this player before a trade's able to come through, it's going to be a GG to the round, and that's going to do it. Clemson eSports weren't able to get to the zone. Final Form 1 round away here in the control.
Yeah, that was a potentially advantageous push for the side of Clemson. They were able to attain 2/3 of A, but unfortunately just the slaying power not strong enough on the backs of 3 humongous kills from Freaky and Tricks on the side of Final Form. So great retake from Final Form, lackluster offense from Clemson. And dude, we have 2 players from Final Form combining for 26 and 11 right now.
Yeah, that's kind of cracked. No cap, but either way, 6 and 13 from Classy. Nobody positive on Clemson eSports. And again, everything is just kind of lining up how we thought it was going to.
I agree. It's one thing we haven't done yet in this stream is hop into a listen in, and who better to run with right now than the team who has lightning at their fingertips, Final Form. Let's take a look at their comms, see what they sound like with this lead.
Yeah. Hold our spawn.
Dead.
Look at their door. Stop. Jumped in. Dead.
Three.
One's in green. I'm looking front.
He's top green.
I have like
I'm getting
all
out
of
my
it. They
life.
cannot
Hold
go
him mid.
inside.
I'm gonna hold our mid. I'm bottom kegs right now. One's top our green. He's literally top our building. Their door, got me.
Nice.
What's our green? Yeah, I spawned up. A.
I don't understand, Mark.
Yeah.
Nice,
Dead.
Mark.
What's so green? Oh, he's deep mound. Wow. He went back B. Yes, indeed. Only top party or some shit. Top party weak. Top party. You got the kid in our spawn? No.
As there you heard it. I believe Hero actually showing Clemson's listen in, but that's okay. Again, lack comms from Clemson, something that I think we kind of suspected based on the current score, but Clemson not to be outdone quite yet. Lives advantage is in their favor, but Final Form again with that A site already locked up and a minute and change left to work their way over towards B. Honestly, I mean, I can understand why Clemson sounds frustrated, but they're technically not out of the woods yet.
Not out of the woods. They do have a significant advantage, though, which is important. Marsky's forced to back off. Glitch challenge won't work for him. Vastnev up in the building. Definitely interesting, but now with the Scar out, Tricks and Freaky able to pair for 2, and this is where you love to see Final Form start to work. They're making sure that they force Clemson eSports deep into their spawn on that left portion of the mini-map. Streaks are going to be used over the top to get an even bigger advantage, and as Dip is able to find the first, the streak now moves in. It's a 3-1 trade, now 4 down. This is where you start to stack the point and get all your bodies back over towards the B zone. Classy off spawn. Shots are there from Tricks. Trying to find the second there on the Wheezy, but you're able to battle back. First tick of progress over towards this B zone going to come through. Now it's 30 seconds left. Diff starting to make his way up. Clemson trying to battle their way back. This is for the series. You have to win this round here on defense.
Yeah, absolutely. Humongous try from Final Form. Again, that cruise missile opening things up just a little bit, but again, honestly, it's looking dangerous for the side of Final Form. They are able to get some progress over at B on the backs of 2 huge kills from Freaky, that may be exactly what they needed. Again, we talked about how easy it is if you can stack that B point. Running out of time as Clemson, huge entry kills needed, as Spike not going to be able to do it, and Final Form is going to pull out a round from nowhere. As Clemson, it looked like they had it almost all knotted up. It was almost all done and dusted for that round, but Final Form coming out in a big way with less than 15 seconds remaining in the round on the backs of a humongous 2-piece from Freaky. Final Form taking it in a slobber knocker fashion.
Yep.
3-0 control. Freaky again, 24-10.
I mean, so many things go wrong at so many points. But that right there, that wasn't even Clemson's fault. That was just how good Final Form played that last round of offense. The first, important part of that was, yes, starting to make your way up the map. You saw the red arrows being able to play calculated, a little bit slower. force Clemson to make the mistakes on defense because they're trying to push up and get more map control. When you don't get the map control there and you force yourselves into a rabbit hole, that's when those deep spawns come in, and then decide a final form, they push those spawns out yet again. Yeah, you got that wave kill the first time, you only allowed them to get a tick of progress, but they come back, they play slow once again, they dwindle that time down to about 9 seconds left on the clock, and when you think you're out of the woods and that the round is about over, you can just, you know, thrive in the chaos and take that round away from them. They force you down to the bottom left portion of the spawn side, almost over completely by that A site, and then it's just a foot race back to the point. And if you can't get there, well, the sprint's not going to work out in your favor, and everything falls apart. Here's one of the plays that just got me a little upset.
Yes,
this
please
is gonna
explain.
be a makeshift portion of the map. Don't mind the drawing, it's going to be really shit. So over at B here, this is where you had a couple players set up. You had one here, you had one here, and you had another player that was trying to force their way from the backside. This is Clemson on their offensive attempt to try and get over towards B here. The problem is you had all, and I mean all, of Final Form playing in and around this building and taking these lanes here, right?
Yep.
What was Wheezy doing? Sitting in the spawn way back here. He was waiting for the spawns to come across the map, but what happens when your teammates don't win these gunfights here? You are useless while everybody else is coming off of spawn. So here's the thing. Everybody came off of spawn. No kills were won on this portion of the map, and Wheezy was completely useless here without trying to make the pinch play back over towards B and get everybody else on the site. When you sit there for 35, almost 40 seconds in the round and don't find any sort of use in those kills, that is going to completely negate anything you're doing on an offensive push, and that is going to lose you rounds, and that's exactly why they lost that round. They would have won that if they would have been able to do something else. They didn't, and that's why they lost it. So that's something you need to go back to the drawing board with. I see it time and time again. Players at the highest level will sit on a flank and render themselves useless for 40 seconds of time, waiting for their teammates to make something up the map. If your teammates win those gunfights and you create a flank play, you look like an absolute stud. You look like a genius.
Sure, absolutely.
But when you do it
right?
every other else time, it doesn't matter. You look like an idiot, and it forces your team to lose. Not to say that Wheezy's an idiot. It's not a bad play. Again, it's just it's a win or lose situation. You look great or you look wrong, no matter what. And it's that time it just didn't work out for him.
Agreed. I mean, it was one of those plays. I'm glad that you highlighted it. We saw Wheezy work his way back into the spawn. And again, if played correctly, that can be a gigantically advantageous position, right? With that AR up on that hill overlooking the spawns can be gigantic. Yeah. But again, something that I think may have been the tail of the tape for most of this series, Clemson just not playing together as a team. And that, unfortunately, will be their undoing. Again, 3-0 series. Congratulations to Final Form. They will firmly solidify their #1 spot in the Bravo division, as Clemson will fall to 1-2. Now, I believe top 2 in Bravo going to be Final Form and Aspyre, potentially making up for a solid rematch later in the playoffs.
Yeah, the playoff bracket is going to get hot and steamy. And that is going to really kick things into high gear. I'm excited to see not only the ones go at it with one another, but a couple of teams from their pools have to go back at it again. Just as we saw from a lot of things this season within the NFL. If the script writers go as crazy as they do for the NFL for the K7 league here, I'm going to tell you this right now. This is going to be a spicy end to the season. However, I don't think we have enough money on the rest for that to happen.
Yeah, I agree. It's potentially going to be a photo finish, and make sure that you come back here to twitch.tv/K7COD League to see it all. Again, before we bounce out of here for the night, big shout out to Sauce Mandela for co-hosting the Headshot podcast. Corn, you should come on it sometime with me. We talk all about K7 and the post-match series. Shout out to our partners, Kindred Sauces, Get Good Hosts, and thank you, Corn, for joining me on this illustrious cast tonight. Thanks to Hero for putting the prod together. It was a fun night of Call of Duty. Unfortunately, we see it in the 3-0 fashion.
Yeah, it was a good time. Always fun here with the family at K7, and with you as always. It's a bright spot every single time.
It's still my heart.
it's always sad when things come to an end, but I hope everybody enjoyed the stream. I know there was a little hiccup along the way, but you know, although it was a 3-0, it was entertaining nonetheless. So I hope everybody stays safe. K7 is not going anywhere. Plenty more matches coming up throughout the rest of this week. Playoffs around the corner as well. But for myself, Shifty, Hero in production, and the rest of the K7 family, we say goodnight to you. We'll see you back for the next one. And of course, stay safe. Have a great night.
I'm too exhausted, I needed the energy, needed to pick me up. I'm in your movie, but this is my cinema. I got the power, I'm built to devour anyone coming against me at tower. I don't care in the pressure. Some of y'all leaving here in the stretcher. Took my time to go and get better. I was reading in the red letters. Ay, hit me with your best shot. I got time today. Feeling like a matador with that Red Bull. Oh no, you can't stop me. I'm running my own pace.
Definitely going to be handshaking 6.
There from Impulsive is now very going to be the
Last one alive now for Team Final Strike. You back out to middle map.
And setting up positioning for this P2. Templar has to play for those rotational spawns. Rated game.
But we're going to be opening it up with Hero, the man.
Important, and we already see those purple